What's up, CHFFL? Welcome to Week 13 of the 2021 season. 2 weeks left before the playoffs. Not doing a full playoff dive in this week's video, but it may come to it. The Faculty Lounge Conference is very close. Let's get into what happened last week before we look at this week's matchups. I went 4-2 on my predictions, bringing me to 49-23 on the season. We had two big games that went not the way I predicted, but I did mention in my preview video that both of them should be close. Derek and I were essentially eliminated from contention and of course sold off. We'll go over those in just a little more detail. Parker stays alive with the big win over Mark. It's the game of the week, and as has happened a lot this season, he was the team of the week as well. I seem to be able to pick which games are going to be interesting. Swan also dropped one to Grant, which I had mentioned was a potential trap game. He didn't come to play as well as Swan usually does, and Grant's team actually looks pretty good, even though he's almost definitely not going to make the playoffs. Waivers. Minnie got Cedric Wilson from Cowboys, $36. Nobody else put a bid in. I think this may be a keeper speculation. And the next one, I had to refresh my screen to make sure I was reading it right, but Banas picked up Robert Woods for $10. Remember, he had traded Robert Woods to me, but Woods tore his ACL and is out for the rest of the year. He was drafted in the second round, so he can't be kept. I'm not sure what this move is about unless I'm missing some sort of news about Robert Woods' injury. Wes got two defenses. On the Wednesday rotation, he picked up the Cardinals D for $8 FAAB. And then after I dropped the Dolphins defense, he swooped him up this morning for $2, probably partially to block Parker from being able to get them. And they also pair up well going into the playoffs with the Cardinals. So going over the trades, the selling, Derek and I sent DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, and Travis Kelce to Mark. We got Nick Chubb and some draft picks back. Max got Terry McLaurin from us for a sixth round that becomes a third if Max makes the championship. Parker may be the winner of all of these because he got Javonte Williams for about the same deal that Max did. But Melvin Gordon is out this week. Derek and I are waiting for that all year for 1 week where Javonte can be the lead back, and we're going to see it this week. He could be at 25 points. If Gordon were to miss significant time, Javonte's an RB1, so good pickup from Pa there. Now let's get into this week's matchups. Start with the Chappelle Show because the playoff picture is pretty much set in stone there, although we do have one really good matchup. First, we have Tyrone Bigum's Crack Stars versus Silky Johnson. Banis only got 8 from Zeke on Thursday, and Minnie got 20 from the Cowboys D. But this matchup I see as being too far apart. It is worth noting, Kyler Murray's coming back. Remember, very early in the season, he looked like he was going to be the far and away QB1. This could be a trap game, kind of like Grant versus Swan last week, but I don't see it. I'm sticking with the favorite, Banis. Next, Ashy Larry Snake Eyes versus Wayne Brady. Swan gets 19 from CeeDee Lamb on Thursday. Looks like he's probably going to have a nice bounce back week. It's worth noting, he's still really banged up. Of course, McCaffrey on IR. Darren Waller out at least this week. His other backs, Jacobs and Henderson, are questionable. I was a bit surprised I didn't get a ton of interest from Swan when I was selling. Nobody in the Chappelle Show conference looked to make a buy for a big playoff run. Although this week, no concern. JD is just Chris Godwin, Kyle Pitts, Brady, and then a bunch of scrubs. Swan should roll here with no problem. This is where things get interesting in the Chappelle Show conference. Clayton Bigsby's Tricksters versus Rick James' Couch. Grant again poses a threat to get an upset, also technically not eliminated. After beating Swan last week, if he wins out, Swan loses out, and Grant gains points on him, he needs like 100 or something. He could still technically make the playoffs. It's not going to happen, but it's interesting. Marty only got 13 from Dak on Thursday, which is a little disappointing, but every week's big for him. He controls his destiny. If he wins out, he'll get that first round bye. DeAndre Hopkins comes back, but what is happening with DK Metcalf? I have him in the Dynasty League, and it's just baffling how unproductive he's been. Not being utilized, not being thrown to. I don't know what to say. Grant's running back core, Alexander Madison with Dalvin Cook out, Cordero Patterson, who's not only still relevant, he's still putting up baller numbers, and James Conner is a great running back core. This should be really close. I'm taking Marty to avoid a slip-up. I like Antonio Gibson to have a very big game. J.D. McKissick out and facing Las Vegas. He could put up a lot of points this week. Now let's go over to the Faculty Lounge Conference. First, you got my Clip Game champions against Max's Wickers Knickers. We're just scraps at this point, and Chubb's on a bye. So you need Elijah Moore and Tyler Lockett to have a big game, and Max to really blow it for this to even be slightly interesting. Pick Max. Next, Chuck Taylor Shamalamas versus Genie Bunch of Good Boys. This is a much more interesting matchup. Parker got 59 from 4 players on Thursday, setting the bar that this is going to be at least a mid to mid-high scoring game. Wes only got 5 from Mark Ingram, but that's not where his bread and butter is. If he's looking to make the comeback after Parker had a good Thursday, he needs to utilize his advantage at tight end with Hawkinson over Fant. Defense, the Cardinals are much better play this week than San Francisco. And of course, as it always is, it's the Mahomes-Hill combo. If Mahomes and Hill put up 70 or so combined, West probably wins. If they only get 35 or so, he probably loses. Oh, I have a little... Who was I taking here? I know who I was taking. I like Parker. Sorry, I forgot to change that, but I like Parker to win that one. Finally, the game of the week, and it could have been West versus Parker. It could have been Marty versus Grant, but I'm throwing Mark right back into the game of the week after he lost last week. Miss Neeson's Cookies versus Poppin' to the Moon. Both teams still have all 9 to play, which makes it really exciting. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Mark now has Kelsey contributing. Swift is out, but Nick Chubb's on a bye, so it still was a good trade for him because Jamal Williams, always a good start with Swift out. For Stan, though, Austin Eckler and Elijah Mitchell have very tasty matchups. Should be able to put up a lot of points at the running back position. I expect this to be like close to a 300-point game, and I'm taking Mark, but keep a close eye out there. And that's all for this week. We'll see you next week. Depending on how things go, maybe have a little more in-depth look at what the playoff situation is. But best of luck to everybody, especially Parker, Max, and Mark.